Hello YouTube, Byron at Splitting Slices. Welcome back to the Knife Channel. Today is Tuesday, March 25th, 2025, and that means it's a 2 for Tuesday video. Now this is an open tag series sponsored by Tom over at Knife Delights, who started that. A big buck collector, knife restorer, and a just all-around good guy. So if you haven't checked out his channel content, please go do so. But what it means for me today is we're going to talk about two recent purchases that I picked up at that mountain mecca of blades in Sevierville, Tennessee, better known as Smoky Mountain Knife Works. Now, that same parent company owns the Rough Ryder knife brand. Now, these are knives that are typically designed here in the States, made overseas, and then imported back in for sale. Several different dealers and distributors around, but of course Smoky Mountain, since they own the brand, is the largest distributor of these knives. Now they have the standard Rough Ryder models in all different sorts of traditional pattern configurations, but then they also have the upscaled brand, and that is known as the Rough Ryder Reserve brand. Now all of those knives come in this beautiful black tin, marked accordingly. Always handmade and backed for life. Now, when you purchase these, you also get, besides the knife being wrapped in wax paper and usually a felt liners to protect the ends from the steel tube, you get a microfiber cloth that also has the Rough Ryder Reserve logo and, again, their motto, always built by hand and backed for life. So I've got two of them here that we're going to take a look at, compare, contrast, and talk about the overall value that you get. So let's take a look at this first knife. This is the Rough Ryder Reserve model number 046. And what they are calling this is the Rough Ryder Reserve Chili Pepper and Brown Micarta Granddaddy Barlow. Now, that's a mouthful, but that is what they call this. Now what we're looking at here is a traditional Barlow pattern, which means that basically the metal bolster of the knife is approximately a third of the overall length of the handle of the knife. And that's about what we have here. Now, we have a handle length of 4 3/4. We have a blade of D2 tool steel. Now, that's a high carbon tool steel used for machining parts, but also makes a great knife blade steel because it retains its sharpness and is easy to sharpen. Now, some folks have a hard time with it, but I have not when I have gone about sharpening it. I think it all depends on your sharpening tools. The overall length of this when opened is 8 5/8 inches, so let's go ahead and do that, and we'll take a look at that. Now, again, this has what I would almost call a California clip or a Turkish clip of D2 tool steel. We have a match strike nail nick on this side of the knife. Now, they call it an ambidextrous, and I guess almost all traditionals probably could be, but if it truly was, it'd have a nail nick on this side, and we just have one on the show right side of the knife. We have a beautiful bomb shield of, I want to say that is, I'm pretty sure that's the nickel or stainless steel there. We've got the same pins, but we do have brass liners on this. Okay, we've got the other side, of course, is also a red and a brown micarta. And of course, micarta is basically made from taking layers of fabric, burlap, canvas, or other materials and impregnating them with pressure and with epoxy resin. And so that is the handles we have on this knife. But just a really beautiful, classy looking blade. Again, my extra large hands tends to hold that really well. Got a pretty good spring on that, so it could be used for a work knife. And as long as you don't cut inappropriately with these knives, this should do really well with slicing with that full flat grind running up the entire length or height of the blade. So there you go, the Rough Ryder Reserve 046, right now priced regularly at Smoky Mountain Knife Works and others for $49.99, $50 knife. But a real good blade. Now again, I would call it an error on their spec sheets. I would call this a hand satin blade. It does say mirror polished in their specifications. Maybe some others were, but I have a feeling that's just an error on the spec sheet. So there you go. All right, let's take a look at the second knife. Now the second knife is even bigger than the first. This is known as the Rough Ryder Reserve Model 048, as opposed to 046, but this one is what they call the Rough Ryder Reserve Coke Bottle Red Jigged Bone. Now, normally that is typically a trapper pattern, but this one is so large that I think it could be argued it might even be able to be called a hunter, a locking hunter knife. So you take your pick, an extra large trapper or a locking hunter, but it is in the Coke Bottle traditional configuration pattern. What we have here is an overall length when this knife is open of 9 3/4 inches, so a very large traditional knife. We have a 5 1/3 inch overall handle length. Again, this is a mid lockback on this knife. We have a 4 1/2 inch long D2 tool steel blade. Of course, D2 is considered a semi-stainless or more of a high-speed steel, tool steel. This is more of a traditional, I would call, clip point blade, but notice it is saber ground. So it is only ground up about 2/3 the height of the blade and then is finished off with that clip and the swedge to the clip to the tip. And again, a hand satin finish on this blade. Now we only have one nail nick on this knife as well, on the right show side of the blade, none on this left side. But the same stamps on both knives. One side you have the model number made in China, D2 steel, and then you have on the far side the RRR logo that says Rough Ryder. Beautiful red jigged bone handles though on this. Now a little bit of fade on the edges where you kind of ends up getting more of the bone color, but throughout the center of that jigging we have a beautiful deep red color. I actually like the transitions on this, so looks really nice. Double fluted bolsters, a square bolster on the one end and then your rounded pommel bolster for the back. Okay. No room for a lanyard on this one. No pin for a lanyard, so just your lockback hunter or that extra large trapper Coke bottle pattern. So there you go. There's two beautiful Rough Ryder Reserve knives, larger knives. I like handling the larger knives myself, so I like to feature those occasionally. So guys with hands my size, looking for the bigger knives, know where to go. And there you go. Now, the contrast, the big contrast here. The Granddaddy Barlow retails for $50. This large red jigged bone locking hunter or extra large trapper pattern is right now selling for $30 at Smoky Mountain Knife Works. So almost half price of the one above it. Quite a value to be had. So if you're interested in either one of these knives, I would pick them up. Rumor has it there's going to be some changes in the future with the Rough Ryder Reserve blend. I couldn't get Smoky Mountain to tell me anything about that, so we will just all have to stay tuned, but it could mean that these have a limited shelf life, so you may want to pick them up while you can. So there you go. Model number 46, the Granddaddy Barlow, and model number 48, the Coke bottled red jigged bone locking hunter or extra large trapper. You choose. But there you go. This is Byron from Splitting Slices saying split a slice with a friend soon. And until the next video, everybody, please take care.